I am Ernst van Alphen.
I am Maaike Meijer. Ernst, I would like to talk to you about the exhibition Shame! Masculinity. My first question, of course, is what made you act on the idea to make the exhibition Shame! Masculinity and have it accompanied with a book? Why? Why did you do this?
Why? Okay, now reflections on masculinity have been going on for some time, but in the last couple of years we have seen many Me Too scandals, and usually, or in most cases, men were the perpetrators or they caused those scandals. So it was time to reflect again on masculinity, but then from a very specific perspective, namely shame.
And shame has a double meaning, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. It's not only about, no, it is about shame on you, about making men shameful about the Me Too scandals, but also it's about men, how do you say that, isolated by being shameful, by experiencing the feeling of shame. Yeah. So it's from both perspectives.
In a way, you wanted to break this isolation.
Yes, indeed. The book, as well as the exhibition, are in a way to break out of that kind of isolation and to make things speakable and to reflect on issues which are in a way impossible to reflect on when one is isolated in shame.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. You show a lot of very interesting and beautiful works of art, but why does art need a book? Because you also edited a beautiful book with essays and comments, interviews. Does art not speak for itself?
No, I'm afraid it does not speak for itself. And the book is not really a catalogue. The book is much more than a catalogue documenting the work in the exhibition. Although all the artists in the exhibition also have a visual essay in the book, there are also essays in the book, by one of them by you, but by several thinkers, psychoanalysts, historians, who reflect on shame and masculinity, and they have nothing to do with the exhibition. But then something about when you say, does art speak for itself? No, and this is a kind of thematic show. It all deals with issues of masculinity and shame, but in very different ways. And the interesting thing is that in this show, each work offers a kind of framework for the other works in the exhibition. And that is so interesting about a show, but also about a book like this, that usually most shows are monographic, and then it is just about the expression of the artist. That offers no mode of reading. And in this kind of show, but also in the book, each work in a way offers a mode of looking to the other works, and suddenly you see differences in what they have in common.
Yeah.
Hi, Wahbie. This is great to meet you. We have never met in live, but it's great to see you now on the street and to talk as if it is alive. I have three questions for you. And the first question is about dignity, because that's the starting point of your article. We all need dignity. All human beings need that. But the problem in South Africa is that there is not enough dignity on Black people. And that starts a kind of mechanism of shame, envy, and as a kind of principal drive behind violence. Could you explain that mechanism?
Sure, Ernst. Well, you know, South Africa has a reputation for being one of the most unequal societies in the world. Yeah. And the argument I make is that in unequal societies, there is an inbuilt process of social comparison, relentless social comparison. And as a result, given the inequality, shame becomes a preponderant emotion in the psychic life of particularly, I would argue, disenfranchised South Africans, which are mostly Black South Africans. So it begins with shame, really, and from there, as one compares oneself to other people in society who have benefited through centuries of privilege, typically white South Africans, it's inevitable that envy will kick in. And let me just be clear that I don't mean envy in any pejorative or judgmental sense. I really mean it in a psychoanalytic sense.
Thank
Envy
you. I think this is very clear what you have argued, but your argument is in a way about, especially, not exclusively, but especially about South African Black subjects. So it's not gender specific, but in what way or why is shame especially a problem for Black masculinity? Is there a difference between Black femininity and Black masculinity in this respect?
Well, I think it comes back to the question of dignity, Ernst. When people are being disrespected interpersonally, institutionally, it is only understandable that shame kicks in. And instead of sitting with the shame and understanding it, people lash out. People lash out, and violence must result. Black masculinity then becomes all about the struggle for respect, the fight for respect, retaliating, towards the slightest provocation. So that for me is how shame feeds into violence and of course Black masculinity.
Yeah, I have one last question. A third very important notion in your article and in your chapter and also in the title is hope. So is there a way out of this very problematic connection between shame and violence? Why are you still hopeful, or how can you still be hopeful?
Well, I'm hopeful because I see South African society transforming. It's a process that's moving very, very slowly, but South Africa is in a transitional state. And when I look at student protests, for example, of course, they in some quarters they get bad press, but in another sense, I see it as an act of hope. I see it as a struggle for a better South Africa that is more equal, that gives dignity to all. And so therefore, I think there are clear signs in South African life that there is much to be hopeful about, despite the problems the social problems that surround us on all sides.